Last episode, this Toyota Corolla did something most starter cars only dream about. It landed on magazine covers, made it onto a DVD cover, and got a complete visual makeover. But in Bayview, fame doesn't win races. The streets don't care how good a car looks. They only care how fast it is. So tonight, we're putting the spotlight aside and heading straight back into competition. A sprint race is waiting, and every shortcut, every corner, and every second will matter. One mistake can erase an entire lead. One perfect turn can change everything. The Corolla may be getting more attention, but the real goal hasn't changed. We're still climbing through Bayview one race at a time, chasing bigger upgrades, tougher rivals, and the next stage of the career. If you're enjoying the journey, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join us for the road to 100% completion in Need for Speed Underground 2. And before we start today's race, I've got a question for you. Would you keep upgrading this Toyota Corolla all the way to the end of the game, or would you switch to a different car if given the chance? Let me know in the comments. Now, enough talking. The streets are waiting. Let's race.
And here we go. The first sprint race of episode 12 is officially underway. Unlike circuit races, there are no laps here, no second chances. Just one route, one destination, and a group of drivers all trying to get there first. Every corner is a gamble, every shortcut is an opportunity, and every traffic car is a potential disaster waiting to happen. The Corolla might have spent the last episode posing for cameras and magazine covers, but now it's back in its natural habitat, flying through Bayview at full throttle. What makes sprint races so intense is the constant pressure. There's no settling into a rhythm because the road is always changing. One moment you're leading comfortably, and the next you're fighting through traffic with rivals filling your mirrors. For now, the goal is simple. Keep the momentum alive, stay clean through the corners, and remind Bayview that this Corolla isn't just built for show, it's built to win. Let's see what this first race has in store.
One race down, another victory added to the record. The Corolla handled that sprint race exactly how you'd want. Quick, clean, and fast enough to leave the competition wondering what just happened. The upgrades may not be transforming the car overnight, but little by little, the machine is becoming more capable with every event. There's no time to celebrate though. Bayview always has another challenge waiting around the corner, and the next sprint race is already calling. More streets, more traffic, more rivals, and another chance to push this Corolla a little further up the ladder. The city lights are still glowing, the engine is still warm, and we're carrying plenty of momentum into the next event. Let's keep the wins coming. All right, I've decided that starting races normally is officially overrated. The lights go green, everyone floors it toward the first checkpoint, and I'm over here reversing my car and doing donuts at the start line. Look at him,
They're racing for victory! I'm conducting a tire smoke exhibition. At this point, the other racers must think I've finally lost it. Imagine checking your mirror, seeing the leader of the last race spinning in circles, and thinking you've got an easy win. The only problem is that eventually I'm gonna stop fooling around and start chasing. Let's see how much of a head start is too much. Well, somehow that worked again. I gave the entire field a head start, spent valuable race time doing donuts, and still managed to win the sprint race. At this point, the opponents must be filing formal complaints with Bayview Racing Association. But the fun and games are over for now, because we're heading to a U.R.L. event near the airport. And if there's one place built for speed, it's an airport. Long straights, high speeds, and plenty of room to see what this Corolla can really do. The next challenge is waiting, and it's time to see if our winning streak can survive another U.R.L. battle.
Check it out! It's the Big Daddy champ from up north.
Nah, man, can't be. Looks more like a chump than a champ.
So you're what all the fuss is about? Don't look like much to me.
You got that right.
You haven't got a chance, hero. On or off the track.
All right, things just got interesting. The U.R.L. race is underway, and we've got a special guest on the grid. Big Daddy, the reigning U.R.L. champion, and one of the toughest racers in Bayview. But either way, this race suddenly got a lot more important. We've spent the last few episodes collecting wins, earning magazine covers, and making the competition look very uncomfortable. But champions don't care about magazine covers. They care about results. So if we want to prove that this Corolla belongs among Bayview's best, this is the perfect opportunity. The airport lights are shining, the engines are screaming, and the champion is right here on the track with us. Let's see if Big Daddy can stop the Corolla, or if he's about to become our next victim. Race 1 is done, and somehow even a head start wasn't enough to stop the Corolla. Maximum points are in the bag, and Big Daddy now has a problem. The champion came here looking to make a statement, but so far, the only statement being made is that this Corolla refuses to lose. Now it's time for Race 2. The pressure is on, the points are on the line, and if Big Daddy wants to turn this event around, he better find some extra speed fast. Let's see what happens next. And that's the U.R.L. Event 1. Big Daddy challenged us, the Corolla answered, and another trophy is heading home with us. But there's no time to celebrate because a drag race is waiting just around the corner. Let's see if this Corolla can dominate the straight line as well as it dominates the corners. That's another drag race victory for the Corolla. It's actually funny how versatile this car has become. 1 minute, we're battling through long U.R.L. events. The next, we're launching down a quarter-mile strip, leaving everyone behind. The best thing about drag racing is that there's nowhere to hide. No clever racing lines, no shortcuts, no lucky corners. Just power, timing, perfectly timed gear shifts. So far, the Corolla's handling the job pretty well. But we're not done yet. Another drag race is waiting just ahead, and that's another opportunity to keep this winning streak rolling. Let's head over there and see if we can make it 2 in a row. Another drag race, another win. The Corolla is on a roll right now. Now we're heading to a hidden drift event nearby. Time to leave the straight lines behind and get sideways again. $63,597 points. Not a bad way to finish a drift event. The Corolla got sideways, the points kept climbing, and another hidden event has been conquered. Now it's time to switch gears once again. We're leaving the drift course behind and heading to another U.R.L. event, where consistency and racecraft matter a lot more than style points. Let's see if we can keep this winning streak alive. that's another U.R.L. event won. At this point, the Corolla's collecting trophies like they're part of a loyalty program. But now we're heading to a Street X event, and that's a completely different challenge. No long straights, no room to relax, and definitely no nitrous to save us if things go wrong. It's all about precision, momentum, and trying not to turn every corner into a demolition derby. Let's see if the Corolla can keep the streak alive.
And that's another Street X victory in the books. Tight corners, no nitrous, and plenty of close calls. But the Corolla gets the job done once again. Now we're switching back to a circuit race. It's a completely different challenge, with longer laps, higher speeds, and a lot more opportunities for the competition to fight back. Let's head over there and see if this winning streak has another chapter left to write.
All right, enough warm-ups. It's time for another circuit race. The Corolla has been on an absolute rampage today. Every event we've entered has ended the same way, with someone else wondering how they just got beaten by a Toyota Corolla. The competition keeps showing up with confidence, and I keep sending them home with life lessons. Here's a crazy Underground 2 fact you might not know. During development, the game originally included police pursuits, just like Need for Speed Most Wanted. The idea was eventually scrapped, leaving Underground 2 completely focused on street racing and car customization. Honestly, after seeing how I've been driving today, it's probably for the best. Bayview would need an entire police department just to keep up. The lights are green, the engine is screaming, and this Corolla is ready to add another trophy to the collection. Let's show these racers why challenging us has become a very expensive mistake. That's another circuit race won. At this point, I'm starting to feel bad for the AI. They line up every race thinking maybe this is our chance. And 5 minutes later, they're watching a Corolla disappear into the distance. Honestly, I should probably start charging them an entry fee for these driving lessons. Anyway, there's another circuit race waiting, so let's head over there. The opponents can keep believing they'll stop us, and I'll keep believing they won't. So far, one of us has been right every single time.
All right, another circuit race. You know, I actually admire these racers. Not because they're fast, but because they still believe they have a chance. Every race starts the same way. Everyone's full of confidence, everyone's convinced today's the day they finally beat the Corolla. And then reality shows up. At this point, I'm not racing for first place anymore. I'm racing to see by how much I can win. The Corolla is locked in, the engine is singing, and the only thing these opponents are going to be competing for is second place. Come on then, let's make another victory look effortless.
Another circuit race, another win. Honestly, I'm starting to think the AI is just showing up to applaud at the finish line. We've conquered the corners, we've left the competition behind, and now it's time for something even simpler, a drag race. No fancy racing lines, no perfect corner entries, just me, the Corolla, and 4 gears standing between the opponents and another defeat. At this point, the only thing launching harder than this Corolla is my confidence. Let's head to the strip and make another victory look way too easy.
Another drag race, another easy paycheck. At this point, I'm starting to think the Corolla has forgotten what losing feels like. Every event today has ended the same way, me crossing the finish line first, while everyone else wonders where it all went wrong. Now we're heading to a special event. These are always a little different, but after today's performance, I'm feeling pretty confident. Bayview can throw whatever it wants at us. The Corolla isn't here to participate anymore. It's here to collect victories. Let's see what challenge is brave enough to stand in our way next. Another magazine cover? Looks like Bayview just can't stop putting this Corolla in the spotlight. 2 minutes to get there? That's not a challenge. That's generous. After everything we've done today, this is just another quick drive across the city. The photographer better have the camera ready, because I'm not slowing down for anyone. Let's get there, strike the pose, and remind Bayview which car deserves to be on the front page. "42 seconds left. Plenty of time. Another magazine cover secured, another challenge completed, and episode 12 ends with the Corolla still undefeated. But the next episode is going to be different. We're visiting every shop in Bayview, unlocking new parts, and pushing this Corolla all the way to a 3-star visual rating. The performance is already there. Now it's time for the looks to match. If you're enjoying this Road to 100% Completion series, hit that like button, subscribe to Nebula Core Gaming, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upgrade. And here's my question for you. If this were your Corolla, would you build it for pure performance, show car looks, or the perfect balance of both? Let me know in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. Until the next race, drive fast, drive smart, and I'll see you in Bayview.